Masks of Memory. Before we begin, a reminder of where we are. The crew of the Morningstar has been restless. The house remembers things it should not. Lucian has begun dreaming of the fountain again, of water that holds faces, and of a sister who is not finished speaking. The angel egg stirs when memories surface, as though it recognizes grief before words do. And across the city, old symbols are waking. Foxes, coins, masks, finding their way back to hands that once knew them. In this episode, memory stops being passive. Some doors do not close when we leave them. Some doors remember us. This is episode 7, season 3. Tongue of the Serpent, Masks of Memory. Prologue, The Veil Between Faces. Mercy dreamed in reverse. Flame withdrew into candles. Smoke became him, and ashes remembered what it was to be walls. The convent rose around her, stone by stone, sigh by sigh, until it stood whole again in the shape of a wound, pretending to have healed. She stood in the center of the great hall, her old robes unburned, the hem still smelling of wax and confession. The sisters of the Order of the Purple Veil encircled her, their faces veiled and shining with the kind of light that forgets to be merciful. They sang in a language older than forgiveness, each note pulling the fire back into their throats. On the altar lay a child, wrapped in cloth, the color of gold struck by dusk. The infant glowed faintly, like something remembering how to be divine. Mercy reached out, her hands steady, her heart not, and felt the world lurch. The chant shifted key. Words that once meant save began to mean bind. The child's eyes opened. They were sunlight filtered through tears.
Lenore,
Mercy whispered, though she did not know yet why that name felt like her own bones breaking. She lifted the child and felt weight, heat, heartbeat, the terrible tenderness of something entirely real. The sisters fell silent, one by one, as if her touch were a crime against ritual. Then the light began to leak from the infant's skin, first gold, then white, then nothing at all. The body in her arms unraveled into radiance, and the hem became a scream played backward. "Give her back!" someone cried. Or maybe it was Mercy herself. The fire returned joyfully. Veils caught flame. The altar cracked. Every sister's face turned toward her with identical expressions of awe and accusation. And behind them, in the doorway that once led to the world, something enormous and winged watched the undoing without blinking. Mercy clutched the empty cloth to her chest.
not her.
She begged the vision.
Not again.
The creature inclined its head, not in agreement, but in acknowledgement. Then its wings folded inward, becoming shadow, becoming absence. The hall shattered like glass, remembering gravity. Mercy woke, sitting upright in her narrow bed, the sound of bells tolling backward through the dawn. Her breath came in gasps that smelled faintly of soot. The window pane glowed with the ghost of firelight, though outside the sky was dull and gray. She touched her cheek and found ash beneath her fingernails. Her eyes blurred. The candle on the nightstand sputtered once, then straightened. She reached for her journal, the small leather one bound in violet thread, and wrote only one sentence before the ink began to fade, as if even the page were unwilling to keep the memory. The door remembers me. When she looked up again, the candle had gone out. The silence that followed was so complete she could hear her heart insist she was still alive. Outside, the bells stopped, but their echo lingered long enough for her to wonder if, perhaps, she had brought the sound back with her. Dream at the crossroads. Cecilia Crowe dreamed of crossroads. 3 paths stretched before her, one bone-white, one red as rust, one paved in black glass that reflected the stars, but not her face. Fog pressed close, as if listening. Somewhere, far away, a crow called her name, and the sound folded back on itself, becoming 3 voices in one. A woman waited where the roads met. Her hair was the color of storm water and serpents. Her cloak shimmered with faint, moving lights, lanterns or eyes. In one hand, she held a torch that burned without smoke. In the other, a key of tarnished silver.
You stand at the hinge between remembering and forgetting,
said the woman.
You crows have always been good at closing doors.
Cecilia tried to speak, but the air thickened in her throat. The torchlight flared, showing 3 hounds sitting in perfect silence at the woman's feet, their eyes were-white, unblinking.
Something has shifted,
the woman went on.
A broken promise. A soul return that should have stayed still. A fox that walks twice.
Cecilia's heart thudded painfully. Who are you? She managed. The woman smiled, and the night seemed to bow.
You'll know me by the time the last light burns. Tell your devils the crossroads remember who owes whom.
The torch dimmed. The key turned in her hand. Cecilia woke before dawn, her room thick with the smell of juniper and smoke. Outside, a single crow tapped 3 times against the window pane and flew off toward the east. Morning. The door still burns. Mercy woke to the sound of the kettle, insisting on a future. Light pressed through the cracked shutters in thin, devotional lines. Dust drifted like a slow snowstorm that had forgotten how to land. Somewhere, a pipe sighed, an old man remembering storms, and the kettle whistled again, louder, as if offended by her hesitation. She sat up and found ash on her fingers. Her sleeve, left wrist, the one that held the dream, bore faint scorch marks, delicate as lace burned into cloth. She touched the singe. It felt woven in.
Well,
Mercy told the room.
At least you're subtle this time.
The cottage, which had long ago learned to offer no defense for its behavior, kept still. Mercy brushed back her long, dark hair, straight heavy bangs, a clean line above her eyes. She crossed to the stove. Steam curled against her face with the intimacy of an old sin. She lifted the kettle. The whistling dwindled into a small, embarrassed breath. The flame beneath the pot, which ought to have been off, withdrew with theatrical guilt.
Don't show off,
she said, and turned the knob anyway. Habit is the only leash that ever held the miraculous. 2 cups already waited on the table. She didn't remember setting them. The second place was a courtesy she extended to mornings and ghosts, neither of which had good table manners. She smoothed down her thigh-length, Gothic, silver-gray dress, pale throat exposed, as she measured leaves into the pot, the scent rising, black tea, honest and bitter, and underneath it, a faint thread of wild mint. The memory tried to unfurl. She pressed it down with the lid.
Not now.
She told yesterday.
You had your chance.
She poured. The surface took the tea like a promise. On the shelf, the small shrine to the order watched her. 3 candles, a chipped porcelain saint, a scrap of violet ribbon. The candles were unlit. She blinked. One was. She blinked again. All 3 burned politely.
Behave,
she said. They did. A soft knock came, not at the door, but at the day. Then the real one. 3 courteous taps, and a pause long enough to be mistaken for patience. Mercy smoothed her sleeve over the scorch marks, as if one can button a memory shut. When she opened the door, the smell of cider and clove moved in before the woman did. Evelyn stood on the threshold like an answer the house had requested. Her dark honey hair was piled high in the careless, regal way she had, more ritual than vanity. Velvet draped her in long, dark lines, the hem whispering secrets to the floor as she stepped inside.
You look like a cathedral dressed as a thunderstorm,
Mercy said.
And you?
Evelyn replied, setting a small tin on the counter.
Look like a woman who's been negotiating with her kettle again.
It started it.
They all do. They moved around one another with the practiced choreography of long kindness. Evelyn poured more tea, and Mercy pretended not to notice the way Evelyn's eyes slid to the scorch on her sleeve, then away, then back. Sleep? Evelyn asked, gentling the word.
Dreams.
Mercy corrected.
The sort that arrive with documentation and an attitude.
Smoke again?
Smoke remembering it used to be wall.
Your hands, Evelyn said, not a question. Mercy set the cup down.
They've always been dramatic.
Evelyn reached across the table and took Mercy's wrist. She didn't inspect the scorch so much as listen to it with her fingertips. The scent of clove braided itself through the steam.
The house didn't do this.
No,
Mercy said.
I did. Somewhere I still am.
They sat in the kind of silence that has to be earned. Outside, a radio became music. The city waited for heat. Evelyn tapped the tin.
Herbs for steadiness, for making it to evening without biting anyone important.
I'll restrict myself to the unimportant.
You can always come to the crew,
Evelyn said.
Sit with the quiet. Lucian and I.
Lucian and you have your own quiet to manage.
Mercy said, not unkindly.
And your own eggs to mind.
Evelyn's eyes flickered. just a breath of gold.
We're managing.
You always do.
Mercy meant it as benediction.
You're the sort of woman a house trusts.
Which is not the same as a man trusting.
No, men are far more reasonable.
They drank. The tea gave up its heat and left sincerity behind. On the shrine, the candles burned lower without melting. Mercy didn't look at them. Looking turns some things into truth.
Do you ever get tired of being brave?
Evelyn asked.
Bravery is just fright standing up straight.
Mercy said.
I'm not brave, I'm upright.
Evelyn's hand, still on Mercy's wrist, tightened.
That's enough.
For a while.
Mercy said.
Tell me what you remember.
Promises.
Mercy said slowly.
Women who believed them. A baby I couldn't keep even when she was in my arms.
She swallowed.
And a door that should have closed, but learned my name instead.
Evelyn did not say Lenore. Names are flint. Sparks are cheap and tire the air.
What do you need?
Mercy wanted to say a world that apologizes, but settled for
company that doesn't require translation.
Always,
Evelyn said. It wasn't a vow, and therefore stronger. They sat until the tea resigned itself into being memory. Evelyn rose, velvet gathering as if it had somewhere holy to be, and was delighted it was here. Mercy stood slower. The scorch seemed darker, or the light more curious. At the door, Evelyn paused, hand on the frame. She leaned forward and pressed her forehead to Mercy's briefly, precisely, the blessing of women who have decided to save each other, even if the gods are inattentive.
I brought extra,
Evelyn said, tapping the tin again.
For evenings when courage is busy.
Evelyn smiled, small, real, and stepped into the corridor of light between door and day. The scent of cedar and clove lingered like a rumor the neighborhood deserved.
Evelyn,
Mercy said before the door could forget itself.
We closed the doors once. Why do they keep opening?
Evelyn turned back. Her face held the tenderness of someone who's learned to love people precisely because they break where they're brightest.
Because the world is impolite,
she said.
And because we keep living in it.
Mercy nodded.
Rude.
The rudest.
Evelyn touched 2 fingers to Mercy's wrist. Farewell, pulse, proof, and stepped out. The door closed with practiced softness. Mercy listened to the echo try on the room and decide it fit. Then she looked down at her sleeve again. The scorch had not moved. She gathered the cups and rinsed them. The faucet produced exactly the water she'd asked for and refused to look proud. She left the pot upside down to dry, the humble headstone of mourning. As she turned back toward the door, something dark caught her eye. Suit. 4 fingers and the ghost of a thumb, not smudged, but printed, as if pressed there by a hand that didn't mind distance. Mercy stopped. The room practiced stillness. She held her own palm a breath's width from the mark. Cold radiated from it, the kind of cold that belonged to cellars and confessions.
Not today,
she told it. The soot did not answer. It had already said enough. Mercy fetched a cloth and did not wipe the print away. She only framed it cleanly, clearing the dust from around the mark, the way one might clear leaves from a headstone, so the name can be read when it matters. Then she straightened her sleeve over the burn and regarded the morning. It regarded her back, as mornings do when they know they've brought you something you cannot return.
The door still burns,
She said to the light, to the kettle, to whatever part of the past was listening. And because naming is sometimes the only magic left, the cottage held its breath a little longer and did not disagree. This is where we will pause, not because the fire has gone out, only because it has found its shape. In the next episode, what has been remembered begins to move. The city answers. Old bargains stir, and not all rearrangements are gentle. When we return, the masks will come off.